Hello, this is Miss Bitcoin, and today I'm with Ryan Matta.
Hey, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
I need to ask you some very important questions about all the work that you do. You focus on highlighting corruption in the world. Does Bitcoin fix some of what you are investigating?
Yeah, I think Bitcoin and the money is the root cause of all the evil in the world. So with Bitcoin, let's just use Bitcoin as like a treasury reserve asset. And we talk about child trafficking rescue organizations. So my buddy Eric Stacks calls it escape velocity. And that's the amount of Bitcoin that you need to, like, let's say you want to live a $100,000 a year lifestyle. You need to save 10 times that into Bitcoin. So once you save up $1 million in Bitcoin, if you can lock that Bitcoin in a treasury for about 4 years, after that 4 year period, the Bitcoin will appreciate at such a rate and it'll continue to appreciate every single year that you can then start pulling out $100,000 a year, use that to cover your living cost. And then after that, you'll never have to work again. So the idea with these child trafficking rescue organizations, like we're working with the House of Life, if we could raise right now, their operational costs are $100,000 a year. We want to raise about 15 Bitcoin. And once we get that 15 Bitcoin locked into a treasury, it'll be about $1.5 million. And then every time after that, if that can cover the operational cost of $100,000 a year, and then Bitcoin doubles in value, you can go from one child trafficking rescue organization to two. And then again, now you have two treasuries. Each treasury has $1 million locked in it or $1.5 million locked in it. And then Bitcoin doubles again, you can split those. So 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, 16 to 32, 32 to 64. We need about 50 to rescue every sex trafficked child in the entire country of El Salvador. And why that's so important is because these organizations will be self-sustaining forever. They'll never have to go to the government and ask for money. So like, let's use the House of Life, for example. Bob has another organization that takes in basically at-risk teenage girls. These are girls that just don't have a family. They have nowhere to go. They're homeless teenage girls. Well, in order to get money from an organization called USAID, they wanted to review Bob's policy. And Bob didn't have anything in his policy about allowing transgender boys into the girls' facility. So USAID said, if you guys want our money, you need to update your policy. So that would have meant, like, let's just say a 16-year-old boy gets out of prison, a transgender boy, and he was in prison for raping his 11-year-old sister. If he had no home and he had no place to go, he would have qualified to go to Bob's organization. So he then would have been putting a transgender boy into a at-risk girl facility where these girls had been raped and abused by their parents and other men in their life. So that's just one example of how Bitcoin can fix the money problem, and Bitcoin can literally fortify child trafficking rescue organizations for all of eternity.
Wow, very interesting. Okay, what is the craziest story that you have investigated as a journalist?
I put out my first documentary, my second documentary, Operation Amber Alert, hashtag traffic. And when I put out Operation Amber Alert, about a few days later, I had it translated into Spanish. And then 24 hours later, the Attorney General of Guatemala reached out to me. And she wanted me to come down to talk about the amount of children that were being kidnapped out of Guatemala. We were talking about the amount of migrant children that were arriving at our border. So from 2021 to 2024, over 452,121 migrant children ages 0 to 17 arrived at our border without parents. Once they arrive at the border, they become property of the United States government. So the United States government checks them in, processes them in, and they record all the data. Specifically, what country are they from? So when I got contacted by the Attorney General of Guatemala, she was telling me that there was about 20 to 25 children a day getting kidnapped in Guatemala, and they were just vanishing. So I started to look into how many of these children were arriving at our border from Guatemala. Out of that 452,000, it was 42 to 48%, about 190,000 children over a 4-year period were kidnapped and trafficked out of Guatemala and arrived at our border in America. And then our government took physical possession of them, vetted the adult that they delivered them to, and then lost about 75 to 85% of them. So about 175,000 children from Guatemala just vanished into America. And our government to this day, 5 years later, has yet to find more than probably 5 or 10% of them. And that's why my new documentary that's coming out this week is called Never in America, because we're Americans. And when you say things, like we see things that happen in these third world countries, they're like, oh, we're Americans, right? That would never happen in America. And then all of a sudden you just don't realize it, but it's happening in your backyard and it's our government that's doing it. And it all stems from the fiat money printer being broken. The closer you are to the government, the closer you are to the money printer, the closer and the more power you have. Nobody ever acquires power and wants to give it up. So if they can position themselves close to that money printer, they're going to be okay. Their families are going to do great while the rest of us suffer. So I think that's why it's so important. What Bitcoin's role is, it's the single most important asset ever created in all of human history.
Yeah, definitely. Bitcoin is it's a good solution for this. At the Bitcoin Way, we are huge proponents of self-custody. Is that a sentiment you share, and what would be your advice you will give for protecting your Bitcoin?
There's only one way to custody your Bitcoin, and that is self-custody, air-gapped, multi-stig, Bitcoin only, right? It's like the only asset, never own shitcoins, throw away all your shitcoins, sell them into Bitcoin. It'll be the greatest thing that you've ever did, right? The amount of time I look back at my life, I've been in crypto since 2015. I was one of the first people on YouTube teaching people how to mine Ethereum, and I should have been teaching them how to mine Bitcoin. and then teaching them how to self-custody their assets. But we didn't have the Michael Saylors back then. We didn't have the Robert Breedloves. We knew not your keys, not your crypto kind of thing, but that didn't even make sense to us back then. So I've lost a lot of money leaving my crypto on centralized exchanges. I thought decentralizing would be putting my crypto on multiple centralized exchanges, and two out of the three got hit, and I lost probably about $4.9 million in the crypto world just leaving my crypto assets on centralized exchanges. So I think that there's no more important aspect of Bitcoin. Learn how to buy your Bitcoin and then immediately spend the time. It's going to take you about 20 hours just to wrap your head around what Bitcoin is. It's probably going to take you another 120 hours to understand how to properly self-custody it. But with great reward comes great responsibility. You now have an asset that no government can take from you, right? If the government comes for me, or they want to arrest me, or they come after me for whatever reason, and I need to get out of the country, I can't get out of the country with $100,000 in gold, maybe, at best, but I'm not getting out with $1 million. I'm not getting out with anything. I live in a trailer right now in America because I know that my government's going to come for me. And when I come, I want all my assets in a position that I can take with me no matter where I go. So, memorize your seed phrases, engrave them in metal plates, hide them in multiple locations, use multi-sig. No one can ever take your Bitcoin from you if you learn how to custody it properly. So I think it's super important.
Not your keys, not your Bitcoin.